All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Recap. We're gonna go start this episode a little bit different this week. We're gonna start with showing you guys the standings. Right now, we have four teams that are completely out of contention for making the playoffs. We have about a huge middle pack right now with about six or seven teams that a win could screw their season or make their season. We have two teams, probably three teams that are probably locked in for playoffs right now. And looking at the standings right now, everything looks a little crazy. The 12th man made about 31 moves to put himself in this position. I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson made about 46 moves. But we can see that somebody like Tommy that made about 6 moves is at the bottom. So it just shows that your team has to be a little bit fluid in fantasy to survive. Just looking at the scores against, AJ's been getting slapped around all season. Hasn't been scoring a lot either. And then we have some pretty good high scoring teams up top. The top 8 teams have over 1,100 points. So, I mean, it just shows that you got to be a little bit fluid to stay in contention for fantasy football. We're going to go right into last week's scores. Week 11, we had a couple matchups. We had two 8-2 teams playing against each other. That was the Fresh Prince of Hilaire versus the 12th man. 12th man takes that one 140.46 to 82.48. Next, we had Turn 2 Pinero with a high-scoring game, beating Tristan Thompson 137.16 to 48.1. I guess AJ, you didn't waste a high-scoring game and still lost, so that's probably a positive you can take from that game. Next, we have Team Faison versus Kala University. The old man takes this one, beating Kala University, and now he is 6-5 and the last spot into the playoffs right now. Next, we had the preseason rivalry between, I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson, Elijah Taylor, and Tommy Cardona, Team Cardona. Team Cardona took this one 108.48 with his highest scoring game of the season to Elijah's 86.76.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
Next matchup we had was Ben Affleck versus Average Joe's. Average Joe's won this matchup and now is the number one in the Nickelodeon division. Ben Affleck lost this one and now is third in the Disney division. Average Joe's won 118.3 to Ben Affleck's 95.7. Next we had Love Hurts, who is tied with Average Joe's right now for the Nickelodeon division number 1 seed. 113.35 to Show Me Them TDs, 84.4. Nikolai just didn't start a defense. Honestly, he would probably still lost the game, but come on, bro. Stay focused. Next matchup we had, I'll probably give this one the game of the week. This one was between Tuanon and Team Pinero. This matchup was really close. I was probably missing by 1 yard. I'll probably blame the Jets for not getting the points. If you're on even negative points in the second half of the game, I guess you can't really score points that way. But Tuanon wins this one 92.4 to Team Pinero's 92.34. So that was last week's matchups. We're going to go into this week's recap. Before we do that, we're going to talk about the power rankings for week 12. Week 12, we're going to head into the week 12 with the power rankings looking like this. Mikhail's on top, Joji's second, Greg is third, Alistair's fourth, Caesar's 5, Kyle's 6, Elijah Taylor's 7, Mr. Faison 8, Jonathan Pinero 9, Andy 10, Frank 11, Nikolai 12, Tommy 13, and AJ in the bottom of the pack. Next week's matchups, we have a couple of games that are going to solidify playoff spots. So people are still fighting in the middle of the pack for that last 3 positions. But we're going to go into this week's with the 12th man versus Team Faison. The 12th man does look like he has the upper hand right now, but who knows? It's fantasy, it's all luck. Then we have Elijah Taylor versus Tu Panero. So this one seems like a close matchup. We'll see how this one turns out. Then we have Tristan Thompson versus Ben Affleck. Right now, Ben Affleck seems like he is predicted to score more. Just looks crazy right there. Next, we have Average Joe's versus Love Hurts. This one I'm going to give the game of the week because this matchup seems like it's going to be the one that's going to solidify the number one in that Nickelodeon division and probably get that number 2 seed locked up. We have Kala University versus Tuanon. This one's pretty just set in stone already. Andy probably could win this game if Jonathan Taylor shows up. But also Caesar's been pretty hot with a 4-game win streak, so we'll see how that turns out. Next we have Show Me Them TDs versus Fresh Prince of Hilaire. Nikolai does seem to pull out wins when he needs to, but right now he's at the bottom of the pack also with AJ and Tommy, so we'll see how that goes. Kyle's pretty bad right now on a 5-game losing streak, so we'll see how that works out. Well, 3-game losing streak. He's just been having injuries, but he's still solidified for like a 98% chance of making the playoffs. So a loss here for Kyle wouldn't even really change anything. Then we have Team Panero versus Team Cardona. This one seems like probably is going to be a close game, but who knows? Frankie's trying to get a playoff spot. Tommy's trying to not get last place, so a lot to fight for right there. But before we go, we're going to go into this last thing that I found really interesting in the ESPN app. It is what is it? It's the scoring leaders. And just looking at the scoring leaders for the season so far, we can see that if your teams do have a lot of the players that are on this high scoring list, you're more than likely to be making the playoffs. So, like, look at my team right here with Patrick Mahomes, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Damian Pierce. I got about probably 5 people in the top 25. So that's the reason why I scored a lot. And I'm lucky to not have that much injuries. But I think this was pretty cool that ESPN added this to their interface. There's a couple more things right here that I saw that was really interesting, like was it a scoreboard or is it the game stats? Oh, here they go. Game lines. So right now we have the matchups right here. We have 4 double-digit underdogs. So we'll see how that works out. Tristan Thompson does seem like the biggest underdog right here with a plus 27 to Greg's 110.6. So we'll see how those game lines make out for the end of the week. Last thing I want to show y'all is the playoff standings right now is not set, but we have 1 9-2 team. We have 2 7-4 teams. We have 6-5 team versus an 8-3 team. 6-5 team versus a 7-4 team. So right there, it looks like we have 3 7-4 teams solidified. So it looks like if you could win the next 3 games, if you're sitting on the outside of it right now at 5-6, you're probably going to lock your playoff spot in. But let's see how this works out. Fantasy's pretty crazy, but I'm so excited to have this season so far. We have 3 weeks left, so good luck, guys.